G'day, this is Mark Screen and this is Working Man's God, a channel for working men of faith and their families. Today I want to look at the concept of spiritual gifts. The Apostle Paul, he talked a few times about spiritual gifts, but today I want to concentrate on what he said in 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and the first 11 verses. If you look in the description below, there'll be a link to Bible Gateway where you can look at this passage itself. Paul wrote 4 letters to the Corinthians, and we have 2 in the New Testament. So actually, 1 Corinthians is actually the second letter he wrote, even though we call it 1 Corinthians. And he wrote it while he was in Ephesus, where he received news from a house church leader that things were going off the rails in Corinth. And it was actually quite a divided church. The spiritual loyalties had formed around certain people, himself, Paul, Apollos, and Peter. And and that's one of the issues that he addressed in those first 11 chapters. He also had to address the issues that are like just general church politics, doctrine, liturgy. Some people thought their spiritual gifts was better than others, and continuing to address unity, spiritual maturity, and even sexual immorality. But all the time, he urged them to be directly connected with God through Jesus. And the city itself, Corinth, it was a very important city within the Roman Empire, and it was the capital of the local province in that part of the world. And so these believers that had come to faith in Corinth, they came from diverse backgrounds. Some were Jews, some were mystics from the East, some were Greeks, and others came from pagan backgrounds. But instead of becoming transformed into new people, their past had caused division. It had caused theological problems, spiritual immaturity, and immoral behaviour in that church. So that's where Paul, leading into this passage, that's what he's been addressing. And he talks about grace, thanksgiving, and unity of the church. But then he talked about how worldly wisdom and human power can be the source of or the cause of division. And he even had to go and address his own rights, verify his own authority as an apostle because of the divisions in this church. But when Paul talks about spiritual gifts, he's always trying to build unity, but he continues to talk about the potential role of people in ministry, and eventually the potential role of people in leadership in ministry. And the true transformation by God through the Holy Spirit. He's quite adamant that about people following together and our lives reflecting that change of being transformed by the Holy Spirit. With all that in mind, when we look at these 11 verses, if you look at the first 3, Paul says that the Holy Spirit directs us to the leadership of Jesus and of God the Father. And he wanted the the Corinthians, but he also wants us today to be informed about the spiritual gifts. But he was quite aware of the difference between acting under the influence of the Holy Spirit compared to other spiritual forces. And he was quite aware that, some of these believers came from pagan backgrounds, but he did not want their past to influence their future. Instead, he wanted their future to be influenced by the Holy Spirit to the point where they would confess Jesus is Lord as God's Son. And when we get into verses 4 to 6, it says there are different gifts, services, and workings, but the same God is at work through the Holy Spirit. And Paul, while saying this, affirms that God respects us as people, but through the Holy Spirit, he's working on all believers at the same time. He's really developing the church as one body. Now, the living God at work, that's a real, working on everybody together and believers en masse, responding to God and letting God work in their life. That's a true sign of genuine unity. When we all follow God's will as believers, that's a rich yet complex sign that the presence of God is at work in us as believers. When you look at the last, 7 to 11, it actually spells out those lists that I said before. That different list of gifts is the outworking of the same Holy Spirit. And they are the inward work of the Holy Spirit by God, toughening us up, toughening every believer up who is willing and making the church a whole entity. So what does that mean for us? What's our potential role in the church? We kind of talked about this last time. But Paul had this concept of people coming together and being transformed by the Holy Spirit, and then a group of, and we'll look at this in the next video when we look at Ephesians, a group of leaders leading God's people into ministry with all people, including leaders, their gifts complementing everybody, like a team, like a well-drilled team working together. So today, it's important to spend time with God and listening to God where He can fit you in this picture. And where do you fit in with this picture? And where do you fit in with your local church? And how does that fit in with how we together can change our communities and bring them into a relationship with God through Jesus, and then be transformed. Many regions around the world over 2,000 years have been changed because they let God into their life. And God wants us to be part of that. He wants us to be the messenger because He wants to develop us and He wants to reach other people at the same time. God was multi-skilling long before it became a fad word. So you think about that, and I'm going to finish in prayer and continue to, I hope you continue to enjoy these videos. If you like this video, click on the like button, and by all means subscribe to the channel. Once you subscribe, click on the bell, and that'll give you notifications when I make another video just like this one. So I'm just going to finish in prayer and say goodbye. Dear God, show us your will for our lives and show us which gifts from your word that are meant, that you have intended for us, to be used for us, to be part of this team that you want to use to reach our communities for you. Guide us and show us and light our path. In Jesus' name, amen. You have a good day. Catch ya. Bless you.